Welcome to All Things in the Name of Love. If you like this show, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks. Welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. Today I have with me Theodora Izzard, and I was just drawn into your journey of your trauma and recovering from trauma because, you had the courage to face it. And, we all have traumas in different ways. And I want to hear, like, not necessarily the whole journey, but like how you got the courage to start your journey of recovery.
Well, I think I don't know that it was courage to begin
Okay.
with, to
Okay.
be honest. Um, if I'm really brutally honest, the thing that pulled me into the spiritual community, the spiritual awakening, was this innate need for love,
Mm.
which came from my inner child and all of that stuff. But it's really, and I to begin with, I kind of understood, okay, I need to learn how to love myself
Mm-hmm.
unconditionally, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, to be able to get that from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But I never imagined the unconditional love that I would also find from God through that spiritual journey as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting how now, actually, as of like today, that relationship with God, I realize, has to be my number one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has to be me and them, and that is it, and anything else, because without that, nothing else can come in as
Mm-hmm.
fully as I deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really think, what I've really learned since I've been working much more closely with God energy is we have no idea. Like, we couldn't possibly imagine the magnitude of the blessings and the life that God wants to give us.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
we kind of have to let go of this, like, oh, I want this and this house and this, this boyfriend and this whatever. Because
Mm-hmm.
actually, God's like, you're like averaging at like 10% what you could actually have
Mm-hmm.
right now,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And as soon as we kind of go, okay, I'm ready for what I'm ready for what I want, I'm ready for
Right.
what I deserve,
Mm-hmm.
the speed at which it can come in is
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
Yeah. And it's
So,
it's that surrender process, which is it's a journey
yeah.
to like get past your small self and
Mm,
all of the perceived traumas that you have and the beliefs and the programs that you carry within you,
mm.
and allowing yourself to feel that gets you to the place where you're surrendered into that divine knowingness that you're being taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I've been doing this pretty much every day for like 8 years, this healing work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I do really feel like I'm at like the precipice of a real quantum leap
Mm-hmm.
forward,
Mm-hmm.
which is just so exciting,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
has required me to completely shed everything, not only from like my old life, but also from the spiritual life that I have accumulated along the way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I understand now that for me to go into this next level of my life, really, I have to be willing to let go of everything and then just see who God is going to allow to come with me. Because ultimately, they know the truth of what everybody's doing and what actually who deserves to be in my life. You know.
I'm feeling that so much too. Like the shifts I've felt in the past month,
Mm.
like, and I use the language resonance and frequencies because that makes sense to my brain. Um,
Yeah.
like it's like, and it's like, wow, that has shifted a lot.
Yeah.
And my awareness of the small, so like I've come to the awareness, like I have many different gifts that want to be expressed through me. None of them define who I am.
Mm.
They're just things that like I innately know how to do. Like, for example, like baking. I've been baking since I was 4, so clearly it's a past life thing.
Mhm.
Um, but is that me? No, it's not me. Me is much more than anything. I can't write bios.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because like that
Yeah.
structure is so small. Like, what do I mean?
Yeah.
How do I describe who I am? And it's like, well, these are the
Yeah.
things I've done. And
Yeah.
if you want to like put me in those categories, great. But like, I'm
Yeah.
so much more than any one thing. I'm like this. I'm the sum of all of those things. But how do I even put that? Because I have gifts I don't even know I have yet.
Yeah, exactly. But then I think it comes down to, like you said, when you saw my picture and my profile, you were like, oh, I need to talk to her. So
Hmm.
it's more about, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
I could have written nothing on my profile,
Right.
and hopefully my energy and that frequency would still have come through
Right.
for you to go, why has she written nothing? Okay, I'll have her anyway,
Right. No, I
So,
could just feel it, like, because I do body talk, so I work remotely all the time, and I see pictures and I
uh-huh.
can feel energy resonance. And so like when I felt your energy, I was like, oh, I like this energy. Like I really want to like tune into you because I can feel how much work you've done. And I'm not saying that I'm not resonating with people who haven't done work with themselves, but like I could feel the work you've done on yourself because your light is so much brighter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, I think, I didn't understand why I was on the path I was on when I started healing. I just kind of knew. I One day I just literally woke up and I made a promise to myself of like, I just don't want to be sad anymore.
Mm,
And I kind of said to myself, all right, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make myself happy.
I love
And
that.
it's taken me 8 years.
Mhm,
But,
mhm.
and there were moments in the depths of the despair and the trauma healing and all of that where, I didn't want to carry on. And I was like, but there was just something, there was this light, there was this, you need to be here.
Mhm.
You need to, there's more, this is not, this trauma, this darkness, this whatever you're working through is not who you are,
Mhm.
but you need to work through it to find out who you are.
Right.
And so now kind of feeling like I don't know if you can come to the end of your healing journey, but I think, doing the majority of the grunt work, let's
Right,
put it that,
right.
digging out and then relaying the foundations
Mhm,
of
mhm.
that building. I feel like I've done that. I feel like everything is just setting.
Mhm, mhm.
And so now it's really great to be able to go, okay, I've found the God coding work and it creates such shifts in my own life and my clients' lives. And I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to take this forward
Mhm.
and to really create the change that it's taken me 8 years to do, all of that learning and all of that experience, and be able to bring that forward for my clients so that they can create bigger shifts in a smaller amount of time.
Right.
I hope, you know.
So I want to talk about some of the work you do because that really drew me in because I do somatic work, and
Mhm.
um what that requires of me is that I get really present in my body and allow myself to feel. And usually for me, I'm lucky, it comes in between 1 and 4 in the morning.
Mhm.
And so I just lay there and I'm just present to the feelings that are coming out and the emotions that are attached to that. And when I finally fall asleep again, I sleep till like 9 or 10 in the morning because I've been up 3 hours working with myself.
Yeah. Yeah, so somatics has been a massive part of my own healing journey, and what's been coming in recently is similar to that. Like, so I'll wake up in the middle of the night, and suddenly, and I'll feel the like God energy come in, and my body will suddenly start moving, and it will start shaking or
Mm-hmm.
like twisting, or I'll just know I have to find pressure points to release, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
yawning and yawning and yawning, and all the energy is moving, and I'm like, okay, this is really starting to shift. So it's, you know, you kind of think, oh, you just do God coding on Zoom or whatever, but actually, because the God coding work, it encompasses absolutely everything, and it works with you until the healing is complete. And
Mm.
it knows that you need, obviously it's not kind of spiritually bypassing, it's not going, oh, we're just going to fix stuff. Like, it knows that also that stuff is held in the
Right.
body, and you be present in the body, you need to find that feeling and
Mm-hmm.
release all of this stuff. So it's so interesting how it's still working somatically, and it's integrating, and I can understand what's happening because of the other somatic work that I've done previously. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, this is a bit of the tremble work, and this is a bit of the pressure point, and this is the, you know, it's really, it's I can't even think of a word to describe
Yeah.
how kind of like intriguing it
Mm-hmm.
is as a healing modality,
Yeah.
because it just surprises you with something new that you would never have thought of, but then gives you what you need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I totally get that. Like, so with me, um, so I started taking body talk classes 3.5 years ago, and I switched
Mm-hmm.
from being an historian to a healer, which is what
Mm-hmm.
my soul always wanted me to be. But like, I took 4 classes, and then I was going to take the whole system, and then I heard no, because
Mm-hmm.
now you're open
Yeah.
to facilitate. And so as I've done this, um, I have stuff coming through that I've never been trained in, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter because I'm the open conduit for what wants to come through. And I just get so fascinated. Like, the left part of my brain is like, this is so cool, I want to study this so much. And my right brain is like, oh, shut up, I'm just like writing this through.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just like, as we allow more light to come through and we release those grips of tension and trauma,
Mm.
it's amazing how things shift within us.
Yeah, yeah. I say it all the time, like, I could never have imagined how my life would be
Right.
now, and I could never have imagined being able to feel the energy that I work with, and just being able to do what I do so naturally. You know, I never, that's the thing, like, I never went searching for this spiritual thing. It came knocking on my door, it came kicking my door down, actually. And I was a bit like, oh, I don't know, oh, this feels like a bit much, you know. But it's always just been like, this is what you need to do, and this is where you're going, and this is what, and the more that I've just followed that, I'm like, oh, okay, you know, this is, life has just got better and better and better, and the experiences that I have, and that wisdom, innate wisdom
Mm-hmm.
of just knowing, this is how I can work with this energy, or this is how I clear this, or this is, it just comes. And it's like a remembering, because you know you've kind of done it before, but actually that kind of part of you is then combining with the divine to be able to just create whatever needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just beautiful, I think. It just, this is no, you know, I do find it kind of, I do find it hard to explain, because, but I think that's the thing, is a lot of the time, you know, when I first got into energy healing and I started my Reiki business, I was trying to explain how energy healing works, or what it was, or how it would
Mm-hmm.
feel. And I was coming at it from this totally mental point of view. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end, I just went, do you know what? I can't explain to you how this works,
Mm-hmm.
because all that I know is that I'm really good at it. And that you're not going to believe I'm really good at it until you come and try it. And
Mm.
then you're going to believe it. And then you're going to tell your friends.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened.
That's beautiful. That's
You
beautiful
know,
because like I've worked with animals, and like what I've seen blows my mind. I
yeah.
don't know how to describe it, but I know it
Mm,
works incredibly well, and I'm really good at facilitating it because I've seen the results. So
yeah.
that's a really good way to shift it, because like the language I've been using is like, okay, let me explain how this what this is and what it's based in and blah 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 blah, which is great.
Yeah.
Doesn't really, like, I just know it works.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I work with horses,
Cool.
and that's the thing. Like, people are like, well, how do you get a horse to do it? I'm like, well, that's exactly the problem. Is
Right.
that you're coming at it from this mentality of
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing something to you or
Uh-huh.
to,
Uh-huh.
whereas actually all I'm ever doing is standing here allowing unconditional love to run through me. And I'm like, you can come and go as you please, you can do whatever, you can heal whatever you want, you can bring up whatever you want, la 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 la, but I'm just going to stand here and love you
Mm-hmm.
now. And we can, whatever comes up for you, we can clear it, we can shift it, we can help you move through it,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately I'm just going to stand here and love you.
I love
and
that.
but equally when you say that to people, they're like, huh? And I'm like,
But I
well,
get it.
remember,
I get it because I know what it
it.
feels like. And like I remember once I worked on a horse, and I did the heart math breathing, so I'm like completely heart coherent with the horse, and the horse knows this. I put my hand on the horse. I don't even know what comes through.
Yeah,
And at the end, I got a full body shake.
yeah,
And the human that, because I don't say owners, it's like the human that's stewarding the animal, the horse, looks at me and says, "Oh, it was a fly." I'm like, really? No,
yeah,
fly is like twitch, like shoulder twitch. It's not a full body like shaking the energy out. And it was so magical because she and I knew exactly what happened, and the human was like, "I don't see you did anything." I'm like, "Okay, fine." Like,
yeah. And I because I used to do the Reiki and communication, because as I was merging my energy field, obviously I was picking up on stuff, and
mhm,
so I could, I would always be saying, well, this is how, but most of the time I found actually that bit was just for the human,
mhm, mhm.
and it was never really telling them anything that they didn't necessarily know. It was like,
Right.
well, this is the personality of your horse. And I'm like, I got to the point where I was like, why are these people paying me to come and tell me what they already know about their horse? Like, do you know?
Mhm.
And I was like, this is
Yeah,
so, and I was like, because it was still so
right.
attached to the mind, and it was all attached to these stories and everything. And, and I was like, even if your horse has had a lot of trauma, I'm like, I just want to help, I just want to clear it.
Mhm.
Like, I don't care what happened to them. I just want to unblock that energy and
Right.
free them from that so they can move forward.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
the story of what happened, that is only feeding the owner's ego so
Mhm.
that they can be like, they've had such a hard life and now I love them and now they don't. And so as I began to kind of detach from the stories in my own mind, I could see, and I kept saying to people, I was like, I don't think I can be a communicator anymore
Yeah.
in the way people want,
Mhm.
because I'm not attaching to the stories anymore. And so therefore I can't give people what they want in that avenue.
Right.
However, my work with the actual horses was getting so much stronger, and we were
Mm.
clearing more
Mhm.
because we were both just completely present and doing the shifting work.
Yeah.
And so now what's happened is my client base has shifted into people that are also working and understand energy.
Oh, cool.
And so now, because when I started the God coding, I kind of closed down my TFI Reiki business, as it were, but I kept on
Mhm.
my existing clients, and I had a couple of clients come back, and that's the thing. I was like, okay, so I kind of had to take myself out of that old paradigm,
Mhm.
which was all of that um, story based
Mhm.
work,
Mhm.
because I knew I was capable of doing more and
Right.
able to do more.
Mhm.
Um, and so now I'm hoping to kind of integrate. I'm looking at possibly working with an international dressage rider to maybe do some God coding work to help riders
Yeah.
and working with their horses. And
Mm.
she was like, yeah, straight after your session, the day after, she was like, I could feel a massive shift in how
Wow.
they were going and things like that. Because that's the thing, you know, we focus so much on, oh, we need to get them physically well and da, 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 da. I'm like, nobody is listening to this horse's heart.
Mm-mm.
Like everybody is completely bypassing their emotions,
Right.
and they're such emotional, deeply feeling, empathetic like
Yeah, they
animals.
are. Yeah, they are.
Like you're never gonna get the best from your horse if you're not also healing them emotionally and
Mm-hmm.
looking and clearing all of that. And because I'm now working with people that understand that, it's so interesting to just see how the
Mm.
work is shifting. So I'm really excited because if that again feels like a new chapter for that side of my business
Oh, yeah.
and that side of my career, which I really love.
Oh, I love that. That one of the things that I try to bring is like how the energy of the human affects the animal.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And
It's
like
yeah.
I worked with a dog a few months ago who got cancer on her, like right here on her jaw. And it was because the human wasn't energetically clearing himself before he came home, and he was doing some deep work. He was like doing ghost tours and stuff like that, not clearing his energy before he came home. And she
Just absorbed it.
got affected from it. And, couple times I've been called as the Obi-Wan, like, oh, the dog is on the operating table or they're dying. Could you help now? And I'm like, that depends on the chi of the animal. Like I can bring in the energy, they can receive it, but if their life force is not capable of receiving it, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah, apart from just possibly help them pass over,
Right,
you know, and
right.
be that guide for that part of it.
Yep. But
Yeah.
not the, oh, they're under anesthesia now. Will you help them?
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
I'm
I'm
really
grateful that you believe in me that much. And yes, I can help. But like, when you had my number 6 months ago, that would have been more helpful.
well, exactly. And also I kind of find that slightly not kind of insulting because I'm like, oh, what? Oh, so now you need me. Now you believe in me. Now you've got literally nothing left. Like, I'm not your backup plan. That's nah. Like you either want to work with me
Yep.
and you
Yep.
understand the power of what we do.
Hmm.
I'm not no.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, no, 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 no. That doesn't work for me. That's not
My
that.
sassy self-worth lady coming back in being like, oh hell no.
It's like,
I'm
it's like, okay,
second
thank
choice.
you so much for believing in me. I'm really grateful for that. But like,
Yeah.
it's more like, let's deal with the traumas, like when you
Yeah.
find it, as
Mhm.
opposed to when it's become like a death issue.
And also, like, you know, if you are working with people, I always say I want to work with you until I don't need to work with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually want to heal this. I want to
Mm-hmm.
get to the root of this, get it cleared, get it sorted so that you don't need me anymore.
Right. Right.
You know, when people are like, oh, so am I going to have to see you every 6 weeks? I'm like, no, I'll see you every 4 weeks for 6 months and then we're
Right.
done.
Right. Right. No, I
You know,
get
and
it
then
because like
call me if you need me.
that's the
Because I'm like,
gift of the
otherwise, I'm not doing my job properly.
right. Right. I don't want to have repeat clients
Yeah,
because
exactly.
that's that's the whole, like, it's not like a chiropractor. It's not like, and I love chiropractic, I love acupuncture, I love acupuncture, I love Chinese traditional medicine. They're all amazing gifts. And when you put it into the quantum field, you don't need the maintenance.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or, you know, as and when something happens,
Right.
because that's then you're like, okay, now I need this. If you need to access it physically. But yeah, I've definitely found that the more that I've been working in the quantum field and also just the more that I've cleared, I just don't need that. You know, I exact same. I go to chiropractor, I go to acupuncture, I go to physical alignment, I'd go to all of these things. But also, I think a lot of the time, sometimes we can get trapped in our healing journey
Mm-hmm.
and and actually, one of the biggest, scariest things we have to do is actually accept that maybe we are healed and that therefore it's time to actually let go of not only the broken, the parts that we were trying to heal, but the things that that whole healing mentality. Because sometimes we're constantly looking for healing, it's actually feeding into the thing of I'm still broken. And having to step into your full self, having to step into your full power of like, okay, no, I'm actually going to go and live my life now. That can actually be a lot scarier than having to go face the. I'll be like, oh no, I'll just go and face the trauma again. It's okay. I don't think I've cleared it yet. Nah, come on,
Oh no, I know that because like I've done so much healing on myself, and like I have this perception there's this one thing, this one little thing, and it's like my kidney meridian because I can feel it in my teeth, and it's like, oh, is that actually really like is that a crutch? Because it's like, oh no, I just have this one more thing to heal.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, well, no, because I can actually bring in healing as I am. But there is a bit of me now that you brought this into my awareness, is like, am I actually like, is that one of my traumas? This is coming in is like, having a very challenging mom who I love dearly emotionally. And me putting out, okay, I'm going to see what, like, in 2 years from now, this is going to be better. This is this, and this is this. And so that's a pattern I constantly am aware of because my team is like, no, you're going to be present. Like,
Yeah.
okay, present. And it will show me present, like in everything I do. If I go out of present, I get slapped. Like, nope, you're out of the present.
That's great. I hope I might call in a bit of that. Not a slap, maybe just a little tap on the shoulder.
Oh, it's a thing because like I'll be like, okay, well, what about tomorrow? And they're like, why are you thinking about tomorrow? What about next week? Are you serious? You're thinking about next week?
Yeah. I realized I had a kind of light bulb moment. I used to have, I would have visions and things like that, and there were different types of visions. Some were definitely directly from God, some were, not, some were just I would see them if I was astraling or whatever. And I was realizing that, I was able to access these other timelines and everything, all these ultimate possibilities of everything, which would exist at the same time. But what I was doing was I realized because I was so hypervigilant. I wasn't just hypervigilant in my present moment. I was also trying to be hypervigilant to be able to predict and see the future so that then I was then prepared for whatever was coming. So and once I realized that, I was like, yeah, you're really fucking traumatized, actually. Like,
yeah.
So then when I realized that, I was like, oh, okay, so we can just reel that back in and we can just bring it back in again and, go, we don't need to worry about it because we know. And again, that's when I always then come back to myself, but also to God, because I'm like, if God's plan for me is already written. So all I need to do, and it's going to be good. And, and all I need to do is actually just chill out and relax into that and watch what experiences are coming towards me so that I enjoy or learn or just have the human experience,
right?
And that's a real shift, so now if I'm seeing things, and now I realize like I'm only now when I have visions or when I see things, it's when I'm in session, I'm consciously connecting, and it's when I'm with a rather than just like ping 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 all the time, which so I'm like, okay, so now this is truly coming from my heart and the divine. It's not actually still this traumatized part of me searching for safety.
Right. It's amazing how when we shift our awareness into seeing all the different coping mechanisms that we
Mm,
developed as little ones, how they don't become as comforting.
mm,
My coping mechanism was distraction. I became a master at distraction. And so now whenever I see it, because it doesn't happen as much anymore because I've been so aware of it, it's like, oh, look, I'm distracting myself. I'll take my phone and I'll play with it for 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, are we done now?
yeah.
Because I want to like honor the fact that like, yeah, there's a little bit of me that still wants that comfort, and
Mm,
it's not going to be for 6 hours. It's going to be for 20 minutes.
yeah. 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 And I think it's really, mine was eating. I was a big suppress or deny. So like
Mm,
I would either block something out. I'd be like, oh, that's just not happening.
mm,
Complete denial.
yeah.
Or yeah, the eating was a big one. But it's been so interesting. I can always tell. I'm like, okay, when I actually this weekend I had a massive shift. I cleared for myself unworthiness,
Mm.
and I haven't been hungry at all. Like I'm
Wow.
eating 10% of what I would usually eat,
That's
and even that
amazing.
feels like I'm having to make myself eat. So I'm like I haven't eaten in 8 hours.
Wow.
So
That's
it's
fascinating.
yeah. So I'm really interested to see. And I mean, I lost like 8 stone, which is like, I don't know, 54 kilos, 120 pounds or something from
Wow.
throughout my spiritual journey from when I first
Wow.
started. Because again, I was just letting go of all this density
Mm-hmm,
physically that I
mm-hmm.
was holding in my body. And and the more that I cleared and released and healed everything, I didn't need to suppress, so I didn't need to eat or drink or do anything else. And so therefore I
Wow.
just starting to love myself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Actually, I really abused my body for a really long time,
Mm.
so that whole healing journey in itself. But there was always this thing of like, oh, if I'd start eating, or like a distraction thing, and sometimes, and so it was always there. So I'm so noticing that shift in myself now.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, so now I know if, and I don't think it will actually come back. I have this feeling of I've actually cleared it.
Oh, wow.
But if it should ever, or if that ever pops up again, I'll be like, okay, what do I know? I know now that's unworthiness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like it used to be anger. And I always think like whenever I'm overthinking, if I can't stop thinking about something, I instantly know now, okay, what am I trying to not feel?
Mm.
That's my telltale.
Yep.
Because then as soon as I stop and I go, okay, then I stop thinking about it. I'm like, great.
I love how like as we continue to peel down the layers, how we have the only word that's coming through is catch it.
Mm.
And
So it's awareness,
yeah,
just more consciousness. And that's the thing. When we talk about consciousness, we kind of always have this idea of like, oh, it's this supreme universal, la 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 la. Like, yeah, there is that. But
right,
equally, it's also about being more conscious about what you do, who you are, and how you live your life.
right.
Like consciousness has to be conscious in every way
Mm-hmm.
for it to be true consciousness, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's just, and that it's again, it is just the learning and the changes can be so subtle
Mm-hmm.
that actually that again that's something that I've noticed in myself and in
Mm-hmm.
clients, but with God coding is like you can't, you say, oh, I'm going to be working with God energy, and you expect like these huge thunderbolt moments and all of these stereotypical like, oh, you are healed, right? And it's like there is a bit of that sometimes, but equally like, you do feel different straight away.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
normally you have a day of like purging a bit and like,
Oh
oh, I feel a
yeah.
bit, and then the next day you're like, oh yeah, no, cool, and then stuff starts turning up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like literally this week this is a really cool story. So with this unworthiness thing, so I have wanted a Range Rover for years. right? And I never ever thought, I was like, oh, I'm never gonna have one, blah blah. But recently, like the past like 3 months, I've really been focusing. I was like, I want this Range Rover, I want it, I know it, this is my next car.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't coming in. And I was like, okay. And then I had a conversation on Friday and I said, I am done with that car and I'm ready for my Range Rover. And on the Friday night, during the night, I had this clearing physically, and it was
Wow.
about the unworthiness.
Oh,
Cleared all.
cool.
Saturday, I blew a gasket on my car. My car blew up. And tomorrow,
Wow.
I'm picking up my Range Rover.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. And it's so like A, the fact that you cleared it, B, that you have the awareness to see what happened,
Mhm.
because it's just like when we, like, I have this beautiful, it's just like, don't you dare let you, my car is consciousness and she talks to me regularly. I
Yeah.
have a 2004 BMW 325 Xi. She is a grand old dame. She's got
Mm.
consciousness. I love her to pieces, but she's a stick shift and my knee is tired of a stick shift.
Yeah.
So she's like reminding me that she's my second car. Like
Mhm.
she'll retire into the second car for like the road trips that I feel like zooming around corners.
Mhm.
But like I'm feeling an Alpina,
Mhm.
the X7 Alpina, and it's just beginning to come into my field.
Mhm.
And the reason, it's not that I want the speed of an Alpina, I want the personality of an Alpina, because I know when you get a car and it doesn't have a personality,
Mhm.
it's not worth driving for me.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. It's so funny. I thought I found my tomorrow's car. I found her personality today, and so her name, she's Shaka Khan, right? As in Shaka Khan,
I love it.
because my like theme tune of the past few months has been "I'm Every Woman," and I'm like, yes,
I
this
love
this car is Shaka Khan, and I'm like, so, but
that.
it's so interesting because when I first decided that I wanted this Range Rover, I was having really terrible driving anxiety at the time.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
and I was so terrified. And I had to do a God code clearing to help me clear it. And I started,
Wow.
and again with the answers, not necessarily like you're instantly healed, but I
Mhm.
instantly found CBD. And so I started taking CBD, reduces your fear receptors. I was like, oh my God, I can drive.
Wow.
And so it's like, okay. So I thought, and I was like, oh, but I want the Range Rover because it's safe. So obviously
Hmm.
it's, it's thing. I was like, it's safe, it's comfortable, it's more secure. Like that was the kind of thing. And one of
Hmm.
the reasons I was like, why isn't this coming in? And then I realized I was like, oh, it's because I need to create the safety within myself
Mm.
before I can. And then once I've done that, then I'll get the car because there's no
Yeah.
point being dependent on the car for the
Right.
safety.
Right. I
So
totally
now,
feel that.
yeah, so now I'm like, okay, great, that's come in, excellent, that means I feel safe within myself,
Right.
that's another milestone ticked.
Yeah. It's so beautiful when that happens, because like the just the shifts of like when I got my car
Mm,
15 years ago, she just showed up and I was living in Redmond, Washington, and I had this Honda, and the Honda didn't have a personality at all. And it was four cylinder, and in Seattle, that's just death. Um, so I just kept seeing, like, every couple weeks I got, oh, check Craigslist because she was listed on Craigslist. I'm like, okay, why am I getting drawn to this? And then when I finally sold the Honda, because I was like, oh no, this is my magic. I don't really need a BMW. I don't really need, but like it just wouldn't go away. And when I finally test drove it, I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder why. Like this was my car, and she was waiting for me to recognize that I was worthy of having her. And like I've never had a car 15. I mean, she was made in 2004. I got her in 2009. I've had her 15 years.
yeah.
And like she's like that's it's just this weird, like she knew she was my car before I did.
exactly. I had exactly the same thing. So 2 nights ago, when I was like panicking, I was like, oh my God, I need to find a car. And I started getting stressed because I was like, I
Mhm.
don't know which one to pick, and I'm going to pick the wrong one, and I can't go and test drive them because I'm stuck because of my other car. I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And then when I woke up the next morning, that picture was the one that I saw,
Mm.
but I was like, that's her. I was like, that's the car.
It's amazing, like how they, because I mean,
Yeah,
I realize that we're all consciousness, we're all connected on the quantum level, but then when you see a seemingly inanimate object
yeah.
connect with your field,
Mm.
it's fascinating.
But that's the thing. I think, if you're gonna, just because something doesn't, if everything is energy, then
Hmm.
everything has consciousness.
Right.
So therefore, and that's the thing. And it was one of the first things. This conversation actually come up twice this weekend. Like, it's one of the first things that I learned in the spiritual world. When I was learning how to read energy, was how to read inanimate objects. It's called psychometry,
Oh, cool.
and nobody does it because it's like, why would you want it? Like, that's not got anything in it. But I'd sweat, right? So
Wow.
one of the first things that I did, and it's so interesting when you think about actually like jewelry and everything that you wear and the stuff that you
Hmm.
use, all
Hmm.
of your energy is going into that.
Oh, yeah.
I just, we were practicing in my group or whatever, and I held this woman's ring, and I was like, okay, I see a woman at a kitchen sink. There's 4 children, but the third one is important. And there's something about like she's doing the washing up, and I was like, it's like a terrace street, blah blah. Anyway, she was like, I was like, so I don't know, what that means. She went, okay, so this is my grandmother's ring. She
Oh,
was like,
wow.
my father is the third child, and she said that this ring, when they got engaged, um she had taken her ring off to when she was doing the washing up and put it by the kitchen sink, left the house to go and meet her parents-in-law for the first time, and then they realized, oh my God, I haven't got my ring on, so they had to go and buy a second ring so that she didn't have it, and that was the ring that she bought, and that was the ring that she was wearing.
Wow.
So
That's fascinating.
that we got to give inanimate objects their due. And I think,
Hmm.
like, with house, you've got to think, okay, what do I actually want to take with me? What do I
Hmm.
actually want to, what energy do I want to take into the next level of my life?
Right.
Because everything in your house has been picking
Oh,
up on
yeah.
whatever,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
Like I used to be an historian, and the last research job I did, I went into the Oregon Historical Society, which is a beautiful building, nothing wrong with it. I'd walk in and I got exhausted
Mhm.
because it's got all of the records, it's got a museum in it, and I never understood why I got tired in museums.
Yeah.
But like as I go do my research project, I'm yawning within 2 minutes. Like
Yeah.
really want like a coffee, and I don't even drink coffee anymore. So like I'm like, where's my caffeine? I have to do this project. And I tuned in with my former mentor, and she's like, oh no, all of those objects in the building see your light and they want to attach to you. And I'm like,
Yeah, they want you to
oh,
like, they're like, clear it, clear it, clear it.
yeah. So I was like calling
All the
Archangel
time.
Michael. I made this essential oil spray that cleared the energy.
Mhm.
And then I was able to do the research, and I was like, wow, that is so fascinating that I've attuned myself and I'm that much lighter that I can actually feel this.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, I've always been able to feel the energy of rooms and stuff, but I didn't get that I was feeling the objects in addition to the people. But
Yeah.
after that experience, that was probably about 6 years ago, I was like, oh wow, this is a thing. And then I had a near death experience driving up I-5 from Mount Shasta to Ashland, Oregon, and my ego wanted to pass a truck on ice, and
Oh.
I almost killed me and my friend Angela. in the
Oh my
process of
gosh.
doing it. And that's when my car came into consciousness and said, you know, if you get behind that truck and you do 30 miles an hour, I will keep you safe.
Mm,
And I was like, okay,
yeah,
thank you for showing me my ego.
yeah,
Because I'm like, oh,
exactly.
I've got an X, you know, I've got an XI. She's snowed, you know, like all the bullshit that I believed.
Yeah,
But ice, like nothing matters on ice. Everything is
yeah.
off. And ever since then, she's been talking to me because she's consciousness. And I hadn't ever needed that before because I wasn't awake to it. Um,
Mm,
but now that I am, I can't not hear it. And it's beautiful because that level of awareness of like, oh no, everything is alive. And if you appreciate it and if you thank it, like I bless my water every day with divine love because I'm drinking it. So as I'm drinking it, I'm receiving divine love from the water I blessed.
yeah,
So it's this whole
exactly.
fascinating unwinding of all of the perceptions that we've had.
Hmm. Exactly. And that's the more that we can, I mean, that's the spiritual path, right? Is to unstick ourselves from all of these stories and identifications, and just to actually be able to sit back and go, okay, well, what else could be true?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest questions. I actually have a poster of it on my in my wall downstairs, because sometimes we get so stuck in our heads and it's so like, oh, this is how life is, this is how the world works. And then you're like, hang on a minute, what else could be true? And then you have like, oh, absolutely everything. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, yeah, okay,
Oh yeah,
cool.
everything. Like I remember when I had this realization that, you know, history is based on whatever created
Mm,
it wanted us to believe. Well, I looked at my dissertation, I was like, is any of this real?
mm,
Because even though I use quote unquote primary sources, who wrote the primary sources? And what was
yeah,
the agenda? So I'm like, okay, I have a dissertation based on what I thought was true at the time. I don't know if
yeah,
it's true or not, but
yeah,
does it matter at all anymore? Because like at that level, I don't even use that anymore. That's just like that was a program I had to run to get the certification to go through that program.
mm,
Um, does that matter? No, it was just part of my soul journey.
yeah. And I think that's, something that I've realized recently is actually we're programming our own. Once we kind of go, okay, I'm programming my own reality here.
Mhm,
And that can either be terrifying
mhm.
or it's really, really empowering.
Right.
And that's what that's what God coding for me is about. Is
Mhm,
not about It's not about asking God to change your coding. It's realizing that you are God in your own life.
mhm.
And so you can decide what you want and how you're going to get it.
Mm. I love that because that shift in awareness, that shift of recognizing that the small self, this being living in this human body, is a fraction of what we really are. It's so magnificent and really ego crushing.
And that's the thing. When you then go, okay, well, that's why I can talk to inanimate objects, is
Mhm,
because I am part of the inanimate object.
mhm,
So, you know, it's then you're like, oh, I am everything. God is in everything, and I am everything, and everything is one. That's
mhm.
it. People kind of go, oh, the oneness, oh, it's only to do with humans, or then it's animals, or then it's the earth. It's like, no, it's everything.
Everything. It's
Everything.
everything. I've
Yeah.
had up in Orcas Island in Washington, I had a redwood talk to me this summer,
Mm,
and she was so excited that somebody wanted to meditate under her
yeah.
that like 5 minutes, I'm sitting there and I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna like be present. I have no idea what she wanted to tell me. She
Mm,
downloaded so much information. After 5 minutes, I got a headache, and I said, honey, I'll have to come again
yeah.
because you can't give me all that you know in one meditation.
Yeah.
That's too much for my body to handle. She was
Yeah.
like, fine.
Yeah. the trees are sassy, right? So I work with trees a lot. It really, part of my, mission is to I have to connect with trees every day,
Hmm.
bring down some light and just bring in whatever frequencies need
I
to come
love
into the
that.
group. Like, but sometimes they'll tell you, you're like, oh, okay, thanks. I wasn't really expecting to hear it quite like that. And different trees have different personalities,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
different energies, and there's masculine trees and feminine trees, and some of them are like, nah, get away, like they're not interested.
Oh
And
yeah.
also some of them want to work as a collective,
Hmm.
like you don't to with one in particular, but you do need to work through them as a group.
Hmm.
And
It's
it's magical. Working with the trees is there's so much wisdom and so much healing. I get so much personal healing from the trees. Always,
me too. Me too.
really,
I
always
My big
clarity.
connection is cedars.
I'm
Cedars
big on
absolutely love me. I actually was guided to get a tattoo of a cedar frond on my hand 2 years ago, and it was coming through a dream, and I'm like, why am I didn't know why I was getting it, but
it.
it's like some sort of talisman for them to just, they already know my energy, but it was like something that I had to do with them. I don't really understand, but like I was recently in another town house sitting, and um I walked along this path and the cedars were quiet, and cedars are never quiet with me. They're always chatty. They always want me to touch them, and like just make the connection. And so I didn't even notice them. Like I went this trail and I was like back and forth, and on the way back I started noticing them. Like, wow, you guys are really quiet. And I started touching them, and they were like, whoa, whoa, well, somebody's noticing us. And then they
Yeah,
started getting really chatty, and I had to talk to all of them. And I'm grateful because like they felt me and I felt them. And it was like they had been so neglected that they didn't know people noticed them.
yes,
And
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
wow, this is so amazing. So like they woke up with me just being
yeah.
present with them. And it was such a gift because then like the frequency shifted.
Mm,
They were woken out of some sort of slumber and now they're awake. And even though I only saw them once, I know something shifted, and it's not me, I did this. It's like it's the awareness of the frequencies that interacted.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember when it's about 4 years ago, when I started walking in the wood where I go to. There's particular oaks that I go to
Oh,
every day.
cool, cool.
And I remember the first time I walked through that wood, I heard, there she is. And I was like, okay. And I didn't get it at the time because I only started going there regularly this year.
Okay.
So like there was like 3 years of gap in
Hmm.
between
Hmm.
me
Hmm.
landing. But I remember hearing that and being like, oh, okay, well, what? But I wasn't open enough and
Right.
clear enough and sensitive enough to be able to do the work that I'm doing now. And yeah, it's really interesting. I love
Oh.
the work, and I think lots more people are actually finding them
Hmm.
now, which is really great.
Oh, I totally get that relation because I went down to Yosemite about 12 years ago, and I heard, oh, she's here. Oh my gosh, she's finally here. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And then because I didn't know, I had no idea. I'm like, okay, this is like scary because I'd never heard like a land,
Mm,
like the
yeah.
whole valley was celebrating me, and it was like this big celebration. I'm like, okay, what the, like I don't even
Mhm.
know what this is. And then I went 2 years ago, and I heard she's back. Oh my God, she's back. Oh my God, she's back. And I actually felt it better this time because I have more awareness.
Yeah.
And so both times I've been able to see the faces of chiefs in the mountains, which is amazing.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm.
and when I was there last time, they had me walk along the river barefoot, and there were like gravel, not like smooth. It was gravel. And I was like, why do you want me to do this? And they said, because we want you to slow down.
Mm.
And when you slow down, it won't hurt.
Mm.
And so
Beautiful.
it was hard. to slow
Yeah.
down to the level that they wanted me to slow down to not get hurt by it. But I finally did it, and it was so magical because the degree of presence I had was like I could feel every spot on the rocks.
Yeah.
And I was only there one day, and I know the valley really wants me for a couple weeks, so that's this year. I feel that this year, but it's just like such like when you have that connection to the land, and there's no, it's just relating with it and allowing
Yeah.
the messages just to come through, and it's so magical.
Well, I think, you know, it's really, it's being connected into your true divine feminine energy,
Mm-hmm.
where you're just at one with it. That's the thing. There is no separation between you and the land and the earth and whatever's growing in it or around it or whatever. It's just you're with it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why you can hear it so well,
Yeah.
and you know, and why it responds so well. It is it's a magical journey. And you know, like I was saying, like I could never have imagined that I would be going and talking to trees every day. Like if you'd asked
Mm-hmm.
me 8 years ago, I would have said, like, you need to lock me up, like if that would have been it. But now I just understand it, so because
Right.
I understand energy and how it all works, and
Mm-hmm.
it just, you know, I'm so excited to see how things are going to develop even further. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's what's so exciting when you're on this kind of path. You're like, I have no idea what's coming. And rather
Right.
than that terrifying, it actually gets exciting,
Mm-hmm. I
which is
definitely
just,
feel that.
and that's in itself just freeing,
Mm-hmm.
not having to be scared of the unknown anymore.
Mm-hmm. Definitely feel that. Ah, I have one more question, even though I still want to talk to you for longer, but I know podcasts are typically an hour, so I'm just honoring that. How can people find you?
So my website is www.seerhealerguide.co.uk. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is theodora.shg. But again, if you just, yeah, Theodora Seer Healer Guide, I would say I'm probably the only one of me rocking around the world. So yeah, type in Theodora Izzard, I'm going to come up. So not that I'm one of those, like, you know, you meet me, you don't forget me kind of people. So hopefully, yeah, you'll be able to find me. The people that need to find me will
Mm-hmm.
find me.
Mm-hmm.
And I look forward to connecting to whoever and everyone that is. um as well as the God coding one-to-one sessions, I also host a community space on Mighty, where people can connect in. We do group God code healing sessions there once a month. And then there's again, then we have like community calls, and like we have a community cuppa, and then there's also a Q&A session. So there's kind of, on average, there's like 3 sessions a month. I'll give you 1 week off, you know, because you like to have some sort of life to yourself. But it's a really great community so far. You know, it's really, everybody's really down to earth. You know, kind of, there is this, there's a real authenticity about the group that we're creating, and I really love that. You know, there's none
Mm.
of this like, oh, I'm a spiritual influencer and I can like stuff crystals up my ass and just be great. You know, there's honestly, like, there's zero of that. But there is a lot of laughter and connection and just love, really, and
Mm.
healing. So it's really nice. So that's a way that, you know, if you're not quite sure that you want to get involved or whatever, the first month's free, so you can always try it out for a month and see how you feel. And then yeah, so that's kind of like the entry level if you want to go a bit more than just following me on social media. And then there's one-to-one God code healing sessions. And then I also, if you really want to deep dive, I offer 3 hour and then 3 month and 6 month mentoring as well.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I would say, you know, dip your toe in, see if you like the water, and then come swimming at whatever depth
Mm.
you go in, you know. So, but there's something for everyone, that's for sure.
Beautiful. Thank you, my darling, so much for your time, your wisdom, your sharing, and for being on the planet at this time in consciousness. I'm so grateful to know you're here.
Thank you. Exactly the same. Back to you.
Mm,
It's been a real joy
thank you.
to connect with you, and yeah, I hope to keep in touch. And thank you everybody for listening. And oh yeah, we are all connected anyway. So
Mhm.
as we just discussed, but it's been lovely to connect
Thank you
physically.
so much.
Thank you.